To reset a toilet, we're going to need a wax ring. This is the new style, and we're going to have a video on those upcoming. This is what seals the toilet to the floor. I prefer this extra thick reinforced wax ring. This is the old school version, and I'll often grab one of these singles of the standard wax rings just in case. If the toilet flange is recessed in tile, then I'll need that extra little piece of wax to help. Today we're going to be resetting this toilet. This toilet has had some challenges leaking underneath it. Notice some water coming out right here, which means that it lost its bond or seat to the closet ring. So I'm going to show you step by step on how to fix this problem of a toilet that may be leaking from the bottom and needs to be reset. Here's the tools I'm going to be using. Today I'm going to purposely kind of use some basic tools, a crescent wrench or adjustable wrench, some plastic, I'm using a trash bag, some paper towel, some rubber gloves of some sort. You can even use the dishwashing rubber gloves, and a bucket. And I'm going to show you some additional tools I'm going to use, but are not 100% necessary. So one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to turn off the angle stop. The angle stop is the supply line, or is the water supply, and it has a shut off right here. Sometimes it's just a knob that turns a quarter of a turn, and then this supply line goes up to fill into the tank. So we turn that off. If it happens to be stubborn, then don't force it and turn the water off at the water shut off to the house. And you can replace this at the same time by watching one of my other videos that show how to change out an angle stop. So we're going to unhook this, and I'm going to use a bucket to catch some of the water. So now that the water's turned off, I want to flush the toilet and hold the handle down so that all the water drains out of it as much as possible. There'll be a little bit of residual in the bottom, but that's okay. We're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so now that water's turned off, we're ready to unhook the supply line. Oftentimes this is hand tight from the toilet, righty tighty, lefty loosey, and we just loosen that and let the excess drip into our bucket or cup or bowl or whatever you have. Here is the water shut off for this house. It comes out of the ground, comes into the faucet, and usually into the house that way. So to turn this off, we just pull the handle, and it'll turn to the side. I like to relieve the pressure by opening up a valve and letting the water pressure leak out. And I just leave that open. If you don't have a water shut off valve like that, you can find the water meter to your home, which is usually straight from that area out towards the street. And this particular one is right here, and you can watch a video on how to shut your water off using the water meter. We've turned the water off, we've unhooked it from the tank. Next, we're going to take off these plastic caps. And under the plastic cap is a nut, and that's when we use our wrench to take that nut off on both sides. Usually you can just get it started and then it's almost finger tight. You can take it off. There will be usually a nut, a metal washer, and a plastic cap. That's what this plastic cap snaps to. So hold on to those, make sure not to use them or lose them, because we're going to reuse those. Now your toilet is completely unhooked from the floor and from the water supply. Next, it's time to get ready to move it. I set out a piece of plastic. We're going to pick up this toilet using this underneath here. Never grab the toilet tank because it'll break. Grab underneath here, and as we lift it up, we're going to tilt it forward towards this front area, which will make it so no water comes out underneath any leftover water that's in the bowl or in the tank. So I purposely didn't show myself carrying this toilet because I'd be far too embarrassed of how I do it. I squat over the toilet, grab it with both hands like I showed, and leaning it forward, I do a crazy duck walk to get it off and placed on the plastic. In actual fact, this is probably best done by two people. Again, don't carry it by the tank as it can possibly crack. You want to make sure you carry it by the bowl to remove and replace it. But again, if you have to do it, I'm stuck by myself, so I had to do it by myself. But it takes doing some embarrassing, crazy walk in order to make it happen. So I was successfully able to move it a short distance. Now we're going to scrape this up and clean that up, as well as scrape up the old wax ring. We're going to take the old wax ring. It looks like it wasn't making very good contact right in this area. So we're going to take that and make sure it gets thrown away and scrape all the rest to clean. And then also we are going to put in the new bolts. So we have everything cleaned up. Next, we're going to take our bolts that came in our extra thick reinforced wax ring with bolts. We're going to take the bolts and they slide in this slot like this, and then they turn sideways. We're then going to put the washer that came with it on top. Kind of hard to do this one-handed sometimes. And then the nut. Run that all the way down tight. Got the bolts installed. You can reuse the old bolts if they're in great shape. I'm now going to take this plastic off of the wax ring and install the new wax ring. Now we're ready to reset the toilet. The toilet is reset into its place. I felt the wax collapse properly, knowing that it had a good seat. Next, we're going to put on the bolts, reinstall the toilet. These have a this side up, so make sure you follow that. We're going to reuse the washer and reuse the nut. It has a rounded side. I put the rounded side down. It helps center that washer. So get that ready to be tightened, and then I'll show you the rest. When you take your wrench and tighten these, you want to make sure that you do not over tighten. You can break the base here of this porcelain, so you just want to make sure that it's nice and firm. When you wiggle the toilet, that it sits nice and firm, and you don't need to go super heavy on the tightening. The next part is probably going to be one of the trickier parts, and that is we have to cut that bolt off. You can use a mini hacksaw, you can use a multi-tool, you can use a hacksaw, but you want to cut it about 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch above that nut, and that'll allow for that cap to sit over the top. At the same time, we're also going to reconnect the water supply and turn the water supply back on to the toilet. Now that the toilet is completely installed and tested, flushed a few times, making sure everything's good, bolts are tight, the caps are on, it's time to put some caulking around the bottom edge. Now this isn't a must, but it's good to make sure the toilet stays seated well. You can also use a grout caulking that matches the grout. If you have tile on the floor, we're going to use white, which matches the toilet, and go around and caulk all the way around the side, and then wipe that up with a sponge. So there you have it. There's the completed project. We have it caulked all the way around the bottom. We want to allow that about 24 hours to dry before sitting on the toilet if possible. If not, it's okay to use it beforehand, but if at all possible, you want to let that caulking dry. So hope you enjoyed this video showing a quick version of how to reset a toilet that may be leaking with a new wax ring. Good as new. See you next weekend.